Shell Fuel Save Diesel with fuel economy formula is designed to help keep injector nozzles clean, so improving combustion and in turn helping to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Adding a special chemical to the fuel shows that Shell Fuel Save Diesel contains a powerful detergent that's designed to help keep your injector nozzles clean and to help prevent the buildup of deposits. Shell tests in heavy-duty engines have shown that Shell Fuel Save Diesel can give fuel savings of up to 3% when compared with an equivalent amount of diesel fuel without fuel economy formula. Lowering fuel consumption can help cut your business's operating costs, but how does it affect your business's carbon footprint? Firstly, we need to understand what a carbon footprint is. It's generally regarded as the amount of greenhouse gases that a person or company produces, measured in weight of carbon dioxide. The contribution from commercial road transport to man-made greenhouse gas emissions is significant, currently around 10%. Now let's see how this happens. Fuel is mixed with air in the engine and combusted to release its energy. Zooming in on the exhaust gases, carbon and hydrogen in the fuel bond with oxygen in the air to form carbon dioxide and water, making CO2 an inevitable product of fuel consumption. It's quite simple. The more fuel a vehicle uses, the more CO2 is produced. So now we can see that cutting fuel consumption can help reduce your business's carbon footprint. We've already mentioned that Shell tests in heavy-duty engines have shown that Shell Fuel Save Diesel can give up to 3% lower fuel consumption when compared with an equivalent amount of diesel fuel without fuel economy formula. But how much CO2 could this save? The answer is slightly complicated, so we'll go through the calculations step by step, starting with how much CO2 is produced firstly from 1 litre of diesel fuel without fuel economy formula, then 40,000 litres as an example of the typical annual diesel fuel consumption for a heavy-duty truck, then finally the CO2 savings which could be achieved from 3% lower fuel consumption. Typically, 1 litre of diesel fuel weighs 0.83 kilograms and contains about 87% carbon. So if we multiply these two figures together, we can work out that each litre contains 0.722 kilograms of carbon. Now let's understand what's happening at the molecular level. Each carbon atom weighs 12 atomic units, and during combustion it bonds with 2 atoms of oxygen that each weigh 16 atomic units to form CO2. 12 added to 32 makes 44. So the 0.722 kilograms of carbon in the original fuel now becomes 2.65 kilograms of CO2. Next, let's scale up and work out how much CO2 is produced annually by a typical heavy-duty truck using diesel without fuel economy formula. Again, going stepwise through the calculation, a typical heavy-duty truck consuming about 40 litres of diesel fuel without fuel economy formula per 100 kilometres would consume about 40,000 litres per 100,000 kilometres. Multiply by 2.65 kilograms to get a total output of about 106,000 kilograms or 106 tons of CO2 produced each year. Simple, isn't it? Let's repeat the calculation for a medium-sized passenger car with a typical diesel fuel without fuel economy formula consumption of about 6 litres per 100 kilometres, or about 1,200 litres per 20,000 kilometres. In this case, about 3.2 tonnes of CO2 in total are produced each year. If you're having trouble visualising this, it's enough CO2 to fill about 3 one-person hot air balloons. So what's the link between the truck and the car's total annual CO2 production? Well, let's assume that the truck producing in total about 106 tonnes of CO2 per year is now running on Shell Fuel Save Diesel with fuel economy formula. With a fuel economy benefit of 3%, 3.2 tonnes less CO2 could be produced, about the same amount as the car's annual CO2 output. Now we can see that lowering the fuel consumption of the truck by 3% could cancel out the equivalent of the car's total annual CO2 production. Lowering fuel consumption can help reduce your business's operating costs, but it can also be an important first step in helping to reduce your carbon footprint and in contributing to more responsible mobility. Shell Fuel Save Diesel's fuel economy formula is designed to help keep injector nozzles clean, thereby improving combustion and in turn helping to reduce CO2 emissions.